This program brought to you by Brewski's Bar and Grill, located in Utica, Minnesota. Your one-stop shop for delicious burgers, fries, pizzas, and more.
Wow. Are we ready?
Let's go.
Welcome to the Sports Wrap New Year's edition. Happy 2020. Before I forget at the end of the show, I hope your 2019 was fair to partly cloudy and that your 2020 is even better.
Well,
that's to you and everybody.
No, in terms of the sports world, hey, we've seen some mighty fine sporting events this last year.
Yeah,
no two ways about it.
I thought about exactly that when I was writing a few notes this afternoon, and I thought, what's the number one thing that I'm going to remember about 2019, but let's save that till the end.
Sure.
Let's do that at the end of the show, and we might as well start with Saturday, right? Last Saturday, that is.
Yes. Well,
I mean, where do you go with the first game? I mean, I didn't watch any of the second half. There wasn't a need to watch the second half of LSU Clemson.
There's like New York Times said, Burrow throws for 7 touchdowns in the first half. And you watch that, and the first half is probably as perfect a quarterback game as I've ever seen.
Well, he said he was 21 for 27, so that means 6 incompletions, and he had 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, and Jefferson had what, 5 of them?
Four of the touchdowns, I believe.
Half that, and so he was hitting these people and hitting them well. And every time sometimes you see an exciting athlete get the ball squirming, every time he dropped back, there was a possibility they could score.
Somebody tweeted this out, and I didn't really think about it while I was watching the game. But this person, I don't even remember who it was, but he's a sports guy, and he said, how clean was Burrows at the end of that game? He was never molested. He was never bothered. The offensive line for LSU might be the difference in whatever happens, because they said Trevor Lawrence was under pressure, Fields was under pressure, and Jalen Hurts was under pressure. But Burrows just kind of sat back there and said, okay, who do I want to go to this time? And he was never harassed.
I wonder who you contribute that to, but the offensive line was incredible.
Huh?
They just picked up every blitz, and there was plenty of blitzes to pick up.
Huh?
And and they were coming from all angles.
In Oklahoma said, they had a guy suspended and they had some guys hurt, and they kept picking on poor number 25. I can't think of his name right now, but wherever 25 was on the field, Joe Burrows was throwing that direction. So
he was.
They looked like the number 1 team in the nation. They looked like the number 1 seed in the tournament. And as Clemson may be the defending national champions, if LSU plays anywhere close to that in a couple of Mondays, it's not even going to be. It's going to be over in a hurry.
Well, I tell you, we watched 4 very fine quarterbacks on Saturday. Now, I'm going to show you the top predictions of quarterbacks at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
By word of this. So number 1 was Trevor Lawrence. He's number 1 quarterback in the country. It goes down to Jalen Hurts. He's number 4. Okay. And then we go down to the next one is Justin Fields. He's number 11.
Huh?
You haven't heard my friend Joe.
Where's the Heisman Trophy winner?
Joe Burrow's number 23. I'm just saying is making these predictions, and I'll tell you the other thing is that neither Bo Haskins nor Tanner Morgan is even on this list because they never heard of him.
Yeah.
This is what a football season will bring you.
They had a thing on ESPN at some point in the last few days, and they were talking about Todd McShay's draft class. And on the first one back on September 2nd or whenever he did the first one, Joe Burrows wasn't even ranked. It was like he wasn't even going to get drafted. now they're saying if he's not the number one pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, there should be an investigation. So it's amazing how one season can make that happen.
It is, and also, you know, I mean, LSU has been piecing together this football team for a number of years. They have a fantastic coach, and you know, so they know that they've been in that get-go for a long time. You know, all of them for a long time. Their number one objective was beat Alabama. That's all they cared about. And right now it's beat LSU, and Clemson's got the team to do it.
Yeah, Clemson definitely has the opportunity to do it. I think Ohio State. You know, you go to Ohio State. The fact that they were inside the 20-yard line three times in the first half and had to kick field goals three times. That was the difference in the ballgame in my mind. Looking back at it, they had their opportunities. They had a chance at the end. You know, you got a quarterback who throws one interception all year, throws two in the game. You know, that's playing against good competition. Not that Ohio State didn't play good competition during the year, but you're playing great competition when you get up into the national semifinals. And you know, if Dobbins doesn't get hurt, doesn't go out with that ankle, is it a different ball game? He wasn't as dynamic in the second half as he was in the first half after the ankle injury. And yeah,
it's one of the things somebody said, what's the greatest determiner in these football games? And he says, well, number one, of course, is the score. Number two is turnovers, and number three is field possession. And you know, in the field possession, and this is going to play a big game in the Gopher Auburn game. If they wind up way back, we can get there later. But field position is incredible with these guys because, you know, there's people that can hit you from both sides.
Yeah, I think the capabilities of some of these teams to go big. You know, I look at the Gophers. They had some big plays this year, but they don't necessarily have that deep threat. They're gonna nickel and dime you down the field, and that's tough to do. And it'll be very tough for the Gophers to do it on Wednesday against Auburn. I don't know. With our old offensive coordinator now residing in Pennsylvania,
that's something.
You know, they say he's going home. This is where he wants to be. When you take a lateral move within your conference, that grinds my gears, is what it does. And
grind Coach Fleck's gears too.
You know, Fleck was good about what he said about you got to let these guys go. We're all trying to get to that better place, and maybe PJ Fleck is thinking about USC, or maybe he's thinking about getting back to someplace else to be that type of coach. So having said that, but within the conference, like I said, if he went to be head coach at Penn State, okay, I'm okay with that. But when you go to be the offense coordinator, when you were the offense coordinator, I'm not pleased.
No, and an extremely influential one. He actually, in many ways, turned that offense around.
Absolutely.
And they brought him in. He wasn't there at the beginning of the season, as I recall. Didn't they bring him in?
No, he was there. He's been the OC for the last couple of years, but I think Fleck kind of let him fly the last year or so. Really kind of said, okay, it's your baby, go do what you got to go do. And so it's one of those things that we'll see what happens. I mean, Penn State obviously has a pretty good team. I mean, they scored 57 or 59 against Memphis. So, you know, their offense coordinator leaves and goes and does something else. And so I understand having to fill the role and do that. So it's part of the deal. It's part of the game. And, you know, poor Pat Shurmur, you know, he did so many good things with the Vikes a couple of years ago, and goes and gets himself a head coaching position. And when you go out to New York City, they expect you to win. And when you go 9-23 over 2 seasons, whether you had a bad quarterback or an old quarterback or whatever, they don't care. And Pat Shurmur getting fired today surprised me a little bit, because I thought, you know what, they got the new quarterback, blah blah blah. They're going to give him they're going to give him a chance. Obviously, that didn't happen. And so Pat Shurmur, the first of, I'm sure, many coach firings. And if I hear one more person tell me Mike Zimmer needs to be fired after you take a team to the playoffs, I don't know I mean, I guess I can understand what you want. You want 16-0, some people. People have had axes to grind, my Uncle Paul being one of them. He thinks Zimmer should have been fired years ago. He doesn't like Mike Zimmer. I mean, I have my problems with Mike Zimmer about him sometimes being too controlling. But then you look at it and, a lot of people get after Kirk Cousins and say, well, he doesn't audible like Tom Brady. Well, not many guys get to do what Tom Brady does on the field. I mean, Tom Brady's been in the league for almost 20 years. He's the coach on the field. I really think that was one of my complaints about Zimmer is I think he doesn't allow Kirk Cousins to come up to the line of scrimmage and do a lot of audibling. Hey, if we call a run from the sideline, I expect us to run the football.
Well, that's right. And you want your offensive coordinator to be doing this stuff anyway. Plus, Zimmer is, he's defensive orientated. That's where he came from. And so, you see this, and you just say, hey, there's some pretty good people out there. Let them go to work.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing with Zimmer is he's got to let the offensive guys do their thing. And I mean, I'm all about running the football. And I love it, but at the same time, in the NFL, you got to be able to come up to the line of scrimmage and let Kirk Cousins go, we got to get out of this play, boys. We need to do this. Yeah. And I don't think he's getting to do that. And, a lot of people out there, I can think of about 8 of them like that I would consider colleagues and knowledgeable coaches and friends who would say Kirk Cousins is basically a bum. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is getting to show us what he can do because they've got him handcuffed to run certain plays and not.
Yeah, in many ways they've done this since he got there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what oh my God. I mean, he set a record signing a contract. About two weeks later, the record was broke.
Yeah.
This is the cost of top shelf quarterbacks these days. And when he is performing, people don't understand.
Well, and as soon as you say that, well, then he's got to start performing like a top shelf quarterback. I say Mike Zimmer's got to trust him to play like a top shelf quarterback. You can't expect him to go out there and not change plays at the line of scrimmage. And like I said, how many times have you seen Kirk Cousins go under center, back out, and start pointing at guys after he gets under center and the defense starts jockeying around? How many times do they let him change the play? You don't see him doing it very often. But boy, I'll tell you what, watch Tom Brady and watch what he does. He gets up to the thing and he's calling out stuff and they're letting him do his thing and a lot of other quarterbacks get to do that as well.
As long as you're bringing this up.
Oh boy, I opened up a can of worms.
No, but they call the audibles, and these linemen are in that stance for 15 seconds, 20 seconds. I'm just thinking, after a while, it's not the most comfortable thing to be in anyway. And but they just sitting around. They don't twitch. Those linemen are incredible, and it's just I watch them and I just think, whoa, man, oh man, oh man, you must have been practicing that.
Did you watch much of the Vikings game yesterday?
I tried to watch as much as I could.
Okay, I tried to watch as little of it as I could, but yet I'm a Vikings fan, so I felt myself like a moth being pulled to the fire to watch this.
I wanted to watch the B squad play a little bit. You don't get a chance to see some of those guys, and that's so that didn't bother me too much. And to watch all when I'm watching those beautiful set of linebackers back there sitting on the bench giggling and laughing and stroking each other's back. What is this?
Yeah, and you put basically all your offensive horses on the sideline, and you still have you still almost won the game.
Yeah.
And not saying that Chicago was playing for a whole lot and that they had all their horses, but they had Trubisky and other stuff out there. Boone rushed for 140 plus yards, whatever it was. It is what it is. It's time to get ready for the playoffs.
You knew it was going to be a toss-up when the game started.
Let's talk. You got college scores. What have you seen? What's caught your eye over in the bowl games so far?
There was a couple of things. BYU losing to Hawaii 38-34 was really a dandy ball game. They stayed up for that sucker. And then the other one that was a really kind of disappointing was Boise State State and Washington 38-7. Put the shoes to them. Another game that I really enjoyed watching, and you enjoyed watching this too, Iowa beating up USC.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see that one, but yes, well, you know, even though we don't like Iowa, we hate USC, so it makes it simple,
Just
right?
like we were pulling on that one, and Air Force beat up Washington State. Notre Dame beat Iowa State, which comes as no surprise.
Yeah, that game I didn't understand how those two teams played each other. You got a 10-2 Notre Dame team and a 7-5 Iowa State. That made no sense to me.
But this afternoon, Illinois and California are playing.
Yeah.
And Illinois, they're kind of an amazing team. Lovey, he's quite a coach over there, and I'd be curious.
And the pundits on College Game Day on Saturday morning said Illinois basically had no chance in that football game.
Well, I disagree.
They were saying California is a team to be contended with, and Illinois had some injuries and
was Illinois is that the same team that beat Wisconsin?
I know they were very much against them. Before we came out to record this out at the Rainier Muni, which by the way is open on New Year's Day, I hear.
To watch Minnesota and watch Wisconsin play football, they'll have all kinds of great things out. I'm sure they'll have food and camaraderie like you won't believe.
Gophers at noon on Wednesday, so they'll be open here for that. So come on out and enjoy the festivities. Western Michigan and Western Kentucky were playing in the something bowl. Doesn't matter what bowl it was because
that's the First Responder Bowl.
The First Responder Bowl, yes. Not to diss any first responders, but the names of them are inconsequential to Tim anymore. But it was tied 20-20. Western Kentucky is on like the 40-yard line. Last play of the game. And Western Michigan comes out with 12 guys on the field.
Oh.
So they had to review it to make sure, and ESPN did not have a good camera angle of it at the start of any whatever. So they kind of had to run the play so that they could see that there were 12 guys on the field. They moved the ball up 15 yards, and the kid boots the winning field goal through. Can you lose a bowl game in any harsher fashion?
There's just some harsh ways to lose football games this year, though, like nothing that I've ever seen.
So, of course, there's the Orange Bowl tonight, Florida versus Virginia. I don't know how much that's going to be worth watching. Florida should win that game very easily, but that's why they play the games, right?
That's why they play the games. There it is. Okay. And tomorrow, Kansas State, and I want to watch Navy because Malcolm Perry, you don't know how many times you get a chance to watch him, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Him beating up my Army team the way he does.
Yes, he did.
But he's just an excellent quarterback. They got an awful lot of young quarterbacks out there.
The Alamo Bowl ought to be a good one tomorrow night. Utah and Texas. Texas basically playing an essential home game in San Antonio. It ought to be an interesting ball game there as well.
Yes, it will.
And then of course that's all on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, of course we got 4 games on Wednesday, and Alabama versus Michigan.
I'm not quite sure how that works out, and Alabama is like an 8-point favorite, and they might come with some surprises. It's like Auburn's a 7-point favorite, and I'm just thinking, boy, I wouldn't be counting my nickels on that bet. It's just, Minnesota's got a very good team, and they've got the potential to beat them.
I think they have the potential, but I'm still leery of our Gophers. Okay, and that might just be the whatever coming on me. I've been one of the biggest pushers of Gophers football all year. I've got a bad feeling about this game on Wednesday. A bad feeling. If Kirk was there, our OC was there, I'd feel a little bit differently. But with him gone, I'm a little nervous. No, I was a little nervous before. I'm a lot nervous now. I think Alabama puts a good hurt on Michigan. I think it's double digits. Auburn, same thing over Minnesota, double digits. Oregon versus Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. That's going to be interesting. I'm gonna be curious to see if the Ducks can slow down Jonathan Taylor. I think Taylor goes off for a huge day. I don't know why. I've got a feeling he's going to go for about 225 or something.
Like I talked to the guy that played in four Rose Bowls, and he says there's nothing like it. It inspires you. The sun sets over the San Pedro Mountains, or San Madre Mountains, and he says you just feel like playing football. And I think that Taylor's going to kind of grab up that moment. And Wisconsin's been there before. No, I feel good for Wisconsin. I really do.
And then Georgia Baylor, the conclusion on New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl.
Georgia's got an awful good team, but Baylor's got my heart. They call them the Bears, and they've had a real good season, close season. I'm going to give the nod to the Baylor Bears.
You are?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Georgia's been beat before, and they can be beat again.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. I think Georgia's been there in the big stage, and I think that will make a difference in that game there. So we'll see what happens. That's why we love New Year's Day, right?
Like I say, Auburn's lost 3 games this year. Florida, Georgia, and LSU, and they only lost to LSU by a touchdown, a couple points. And so when you take a look at this, you got to say Auburn is definitely the favorite. And if we can get Laughlin and a couple of those defensive ends to put pressure on Bo Nix, they can beat them.
Yeah, they're going to have to contain Bo. There's no doubt about it.
Contain Bo.
Absolutely.
Bo isn't even on their roster when I got his first deal. Nobody knew who Bo Nix was, and now he's doing real well.
Since we last were on the air, Mankato lost in the Division II National Championship in kind of a convincing fashion. They kind of made a kind of a comeback at the end to give themselves an opportunity, but they end up losing there. Nice season though, and of course North Dakota State rolled in the semifinals. They play this coming Saturday at 11 o'clock, and ESPN's gotten smart. They said, you know what? North Dakota State is such a draw. Let's put that game on ABC on Saturday at 11 o'clock.
That's what they should have done too.
Well, it's to me that you just got to know what you're doing. You got to play your percentages.
Well, you do, and I Mankato almost when they were playing, the second half started like reality finally hit them, and it was like they were stunned by it and really didn't know how to react. When NDSU runs into reality, they stomp the death out of it. They just bam, 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 and they do it on defense and then on offense too. But they are really a good football.
I like how they talked after they only won 9-3 in the quarters, and how they reinvented themselves during the week. They kind of went back to the basics.
Sure.
Took care of some things, and really, instead of worrying about the fluff, as sometimes coaches can get themselves too full of themselves. Well, we can run this and we can run this and we can do whatever we want. They kind of went back to the basics and said, look, these are the things that we need to do to be a successful football team, and they took care of business. So it's going to be a heck of a game against James Madison on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, and right you should. No, but and I don't even want, as long as we're in the area in the area of Western sports. I noticed last week that North Dakota beat Nebraska 75-74. First time since 1933, Tim.
Wow, I had not seen that.
The Fighting Hawks, they got 23 points by Marlon Stewart, and the game was played in Lincoln. Now, this tells you a couple of things. Number one, North Dakota, they'll give you a fight.
Yeah.
And number two, I don't see Nebraska really being much of a threat to Minnesota.
Teams can get upset. Teams can be looking past. Nebraska gets all kinds of love for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure how or why they do, but they do. And we'll see what happens. The Gophers looked a little shell-shocked after Christmas the other day against Florida International, and then old Daniel just took over the game on the boards.
20 rebounds.
It was a display of rebounding ability, and Cal Shear played all right. Marcus Carr, remember last time we did the show, he needs to do this back-to-back. Game right after, not so good.
Well, he got 8, but then you know, Kelcher, he scored 34 points the next game, and that game was played in Tulsa.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they can perform, they can perform away, you know, and Big Dan.
He's been consistent, and that's why I say as he goes, so will go the Gophers, because it seems like Carr doesn't show up and do it every night. Cal Shear can't do it every night, but Oturo, every night he's there doing what he does. He's getting a double-double.
If they can keep these boys on that team, because they're all sophomores, or a good majority of them.
They're young,
you know. But Big Dan, somebody could be looking at him and thinking, maybe we'll get him now.
He's one of those guys. I hope he doesn't be like Rickert and some of these other guys who start listening to people who tell him that they're ready. He needs to stay another year, get another year physically mature, and do those things. I mean, he's a 6'10" beast.
He looks like he's having fun right now. Yes. They all do, and you know that's got to be part of this deal.
So
anyway, they play Purdue on Saturday, and then on the 5th. I'm not sure. Is that Sunday or Monday? Sunday.
The 5th is a Sunday.
Sunday they play Northwestern at Minnesota. So they start the rat race from that point on, and separate the wheat from the shaft and all the rest of those cliches.
It's gonna be tough. You know, you beat Ohio State, and Ohio State is still one of those teams in the top 5. And you've talked about Michigan State, and Michigan, who made that run early from unrated to number 4, and the Big Ten's tough. And you know, if the Gophers win 10 out of 18, I mean, I'm serious. 10 out of 18 would be a heck of a run. I mean, you know, after the Iowa game, everybody's ready to throw the Gophers in the river and send them down the way, and put them in a raft and send them on their way. But you know, there's going to be days when you don't have your good stuff.
They are young, and it's just I know this for sure. Consistently, seniors outperform sophomores. This is just the way they work, and if they can keep them around for a while, this team's going to make things a fine squad.
Yeah. So, do we want to go back and make any predictions on the NFL playoffs before we leave football? I just turned the page, and that's where I had the games.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and I'm going to tell you right now, New Orleans has just got a little bit, you know, they've got a little voodoo on them down there in New Orleans, and they have a tendency to, I don't know, get a bad call or see a touchdown go by or all the rest of that. Right now, the Vikings are getting healthy, and by the time they play on Saturday, I think they'll have Cook back, and this is probably the best that they're going to be able to piece together in the last month. So I think they're going to give the old Saints a run.
I think they're going to give the Saints a run as well. I really do. I mean, I've been trying to tote that barge, I guess, all season long. That you know, let's not throw them away. Some people might say, well, they're only 10-6. Well, they threw yesterday's game away, so 10-5, 11-5. It didn't matter. They were the 6th seed. You know,
that wasn't a throwaway. That was a throwaway game for the Vikings. It wasn't a throwaway game for the New England Patriots.
Ooh.
And they got beat by one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, at home.
At home. And it's just like when you see that, you just think, but hey, any dynasty is going to develop cracks. You know, and so
they showed us a stat the other day that said, since 2001, the New England Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls. They were the number 1 or number 2 seed each of those times.
Yeah.
They as the 3 through 6 seed.
How long has that been?
That's since 2001.
Okay.
And so when they're the 3 or 4, 5 or 6, they're 3-3 in the playoffs. No times in the Super Bowl. And so, can you count them out? Heck no. Can Tennessee go to New England and beat them? Well, Miami just did it. I guess you could say, yes, it can happen. But if you're going to tell me before watching Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans, that the Titans were that Ryan Tannehill was going to be the highest rated quarterback, had the best completion percentage in the NFL. What? They ran him out of Miami, right? Didn't they load up his car and drive it out of town with and through it?
They did.
Here's a guy who's got the best completion percentage in the NFL and the highest passer rank. How can that be? So, having said that, does Tennessee have a fighter's chance? Absolutely. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now. But New England at home in the playoffs is a different animal, and I don't know. Buffalo at Houston. Buffalo. I think you know, they lost to the Jets yesterday, but that was a throwaway game for them. They're getting everybody healthy. I picked Buffalo. I picked New England in the AFC on Saturday. I go with the Vikes in Seattle. Both road teams win on Sunday. Seattle is going to throttle Philly. I think it's double digits, even though it's in Philly. It's whatever. Seattle was that far away from being the number 1 or number 2 seed, excuse me. They're a very good football team.
A very exciting football game too. That was
a very exciting football game, absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, those are my picks, and if the Vikes win, they go to the 49ers the following Saturday afternoon on the 11th. They'd be the first game. So the Vikes got a long road to hoe. If they win if they win this weekend and win at San Francisco, they probably end up going to play the Packers. So if they get through all that, they deserve to be in the Super Bowl. They've got their work cut out for them.
They do.
So anything else football-wise? We kind of meandered around here a little bit.
We did meander.
But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with meandering. He's pulling out his bull sheet again.
Yeah. No, I think we're all set here. We're over the next couple of days. We've got the Liberty Bowl, the Arizona Bowl.
The Arizona Bowl, that used to be the Cactus Bowl. That used to be the Tostitos Bowl. Yeah.
The Citrus Bowl with Michigan and Alabama. That's going to be fun to watch.
You're not going to be able to watch it unless you've got 2 TVs on, because they're going to be sitting side by side with the Gophers.
We can.
You've got to figure it out. There you go.
Record them. And the other one is that, I watched Cincinnati play all season. In fact, I think they beat Memphis, and here they're playing 6-6 Boston College. It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah.
But hey, we got some good football yet to go. There's no two ways about it, and I hope Virginia beats Florida.
That would be great. I agree with you on that, Jordan. Yeah. I don't expect it to happen, but I'm hoping so. Let me update everybody on Bronco sports. The girls hockey team should have been in about 20 minutes jumping on the ice to play down at the Herb Brooks Cup, used to be the Schwann's Cup.
Big time.
They decided not to travel through the bad weather and have decided to stay home. So they will not be playing those 3 games. Those will come off the schedule. We'll see. Maybe they can fit another game in with the Muskies or something, which is always possible to fill out their schedule a little bit. The Bronco boys hockey team goes 1-2 out at War Road in the Hockey Town Holiday Classic out there. Of course, you got to be cameraman at the Muskie game.
I have fun.
And so things were good. The Broncos beat the Muskies 3-2 and get a nice win there. So the Broncos sit at 6-4 as we sit right now. The boys basketball team is at 4-2. They host. Oh, I forgot to mention the boys hockey team at home on Friday night against Ely Northeast Range. Don't think that the boys don't want to put a slobber knocker on Ely after Ely beat them for the first time ever last year in the playoffs at home to break the 63-game unbeaten streak. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And then the Broncos go to North Shore on Saturday, so they get back-to-back games coming out of the holiday break. The boys basketball team is at home against Mesabi East, a game that the Broncos just can't afford to lose. I don't want to put any undue pressure on the boys, but Mesabi East is not the Mesabi East of old. This is a team that the Broncos should beat. The Bronco girls hockey basketball team, is 4-3. They go to Hibbing on Thursday, the day after New Year's. They'll have their hands full with the Blue Jackets. Nice team down there. The boys swimming and diving team will be at Grand Rapids on Friday. They just had their home invitational over the past weekend, and the wrestlers will also be in Hibbing on Friday and Saturday, as they will be taking part in the Hibbing Invitational there on Friday evening and all day Saturday.
Anyway, I noticed that you have down in your pad the World Junior Hockey Tournament.
Yeah, were you watching a little bit of
Well,
that?
look what I had on my pad.
Yeah.
I did. I watched USA lose to Canada, and then come back and beat Germany, and they beat Russia, and today they beat the Czech Republic.
Had to do it in overtime in front of the home crowd. It was a tough sledding for the USA today, but
It was. I watched the Czech Republic beat Russians, and I'm telling you, that crowd was pumped.
Well, how about Russia beating Canada 6-0? It's just like, what? I saw the score. I'm like, I don't know. And then almost the fight afterwards, where the Canadian captain didn't take off his helmet during the Russian national anthem, and the Russian boys were unhappy. The captain wanted to come out, and so there's some hard feelings. But it looks like the USA will be the probably number 2 seed going into the playoffs that start on Thursday, and then it goes Thursday, Friday, hopefully Sunday. Hopefully the U.S. Getting a chance to play for the gold medal on Sunday.
Oh, those guys skate hard. They skate fast. It's like watching college hockey, which is one of my favorite sports, and they do the same thing because they're mostly college players.
Yeah.
And their goalie is that Spencer Knight from Boston College. I'll get the lowdown on him from my BC contact.
There you go.
But he really played well.
Yeah.
And it's just
I think you'd like to take that Canada game back.
Yes.
One of the things I don't like about this team is we take too many penalties, but having said that, junior hockey is reffed at a different style. I mean, when you're playing college hockey, you get one of these with your stick, everybody just kind of goes, there was no penalty there. You do that in junior hockey, you're going to go sit down for 2 minutes because they're not going to let you slap a guy with a stick as he's skating by you.
Let me ask you this then, because I'm watching football all weekend long. I saw an awful lot of yellow flags for unsportsmanlike, unnecessary roughness, all the rest of this. And frankly, there were some that I think were missed. And, it's just like, no, he hit him with the shoulder, he got him to the side. One was clearly, they hit him for targeting, threw the guy out, and he never, if that was a targeting, it was a poor shot. So it's just like, but that was coming over and over and over again at the pro level.
And they've been talking about the pass interference call. You go all the way back to the Vikings and Delvin Cook, game 2 of the season. Delvin Cook gets called for pass interference. And we're all kind of like, what the heck is going on? And then, I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm watching the World Dart Tournament here as we're doing this, and I cannot believe what I'm seeing. This is the World semifinals right here. The best player in the world, Michael Van Gerwen, has just choked 6 darts away for a chance to basically put this thing into whatever. And anyway, so they were talking about it on NFL Live today, about the PI call and the interviewing. Well, I didn't watch the end of the football game last night, I'll be honest. I went to bed. But they the San Francisco guy grabbed right hold of him right here, just like this, and yanked his arm down. Well, how the heck is that not pass interference? And I don't know. It's so inconsistent. You either got to play it to the letter of the law, and basically, I've told you folks this before, Canadian Football League, they get a pass interference call there that's not called, almost invariably it's going to be a pass interference call, because if they throw the flag on it, it's going to be pass interference. It should have been called. That's basically the way it should be in the NFL. If somebody's challenging whether it should be a pass interference call, it was probably pass interference, because pass interference probably can be called on most every play. So the NFL is going to have to decide what they want to do here. And the one defensive player in NFL Live was saying, well, NFL only wants it in those really bad spots where it's really blatant, it decides the game. Well, if last night's didn't decide the game, what in the heck did it do? I don't understand it. So the NFL's got some soul searching to do. They've got some things to take care of.
As we're on this point, was the LSU, or was the Clemson interception, fumble, touchdown? What was that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
It's all over the papers today, and it's one of those things that you see.
And it was on the Twitter world and the whole 9 yards, and it's just like, how can this be? So, yes, it's crazy, and you would think that with video evidence, it would be simple. It should be simple, but yet it's still up to interpretation when you watch it that way as well. And I don't know.
That's right.
Okay, I am going to talk about the World Darts because my wife thinks I'm nuts. But the World Dart Championship starts about the middle of December every year. And they run the semifinals 2 days before New Year's, and then the final is on New Year's Day. So this is
where?
This is in London.
Okay.
So this is live from London. So it's 10:45 over there in London right now. They're coming down to the semifinals, and I would guess in the last week now I probably have watched darts for a total of probably 30 hours.
Holy cow!
There's no whatever. This became a tradition about 10 years ago for me.
That's an addiction.
That's an addiction. The darts start at 6:30 in the morning. I'll get up at 6:30 in the morning and start watching darts. It's a little crazy. In today's first semifinal, two guys that they say are good friends, and after the first set, they call it, the one guy kind of came up and gave him, because he made a pretty nice shot, and he kind of came up and gave the guy a shot, and the guy just bolted right past him. And then at the end of the second set, the other guy won, and he was right in the guy's face. No handshake. It was very contentious. I thought they were going to fight right there on stage. So it was good stuff. So anyway, the World Dart Final, 1 o'clock during the Gopher game. So guess what Tim's going to have on? Alabama, Gophers, and right over here, the World Dart Championship. Can't miss it. Got to watch it. It's a New Year's Day tradition.
Well, there you are.
So anyway, that's the World Darts. One of my favorite times. So you put World Junior Hockey, World Darts, and then you put all these bowl football games on, and it's a good thing we're on vacation.
Not to escape that World Junior Hockey, but UMD has their coach involved in that. They have Brett Larson, former All-American from UMD.
And the Bulldogs are playing right now. I didn't really get a chance to listen to them. They're all playing Merrimack. They won 4-1 yesterday, and a whole bunch of college hockey. And of course, they have the Classic down at Mariucci with all the 4 Minnesota Division I teams except for UMD, because there's 5 of them. And of course, Mankato got upset by St. Cloud State the other day. That'd be 2 days ago. So it just goes to show you that anything can happen on any given day. And so it's going to be fun. The Dogs will have a stretch of road games. They don't have many home series left. I think 4 of them over the next 2+ months. So we'll see what they come up with. And if I know anything, they'll do what they need to do to make sure they've got a chance.
I think they will too. At least that's the tradition they have developed.
I'm looking up at the clock. Wolves break a 10-game losing streak. Thank God. Happy days. The Wild's still one of the hottest teams, even though they lost to the Islanders yesterday 3-1. The Islanders are one of the better teams in the NHL, so let's not get too crazy. But I've enjoyed watching Zuccarello, who early on I didn't know if we'd made a good choice bringing him in. He's kind of come in and done some nice things, and getting Eriksson Ek back has been a good thing for the Wild. So I've got tickets to go watch the Wild in a couple of Sundays, so I hope that they put on a good show when I'm there on Sunday the 12th. And I was glad to find out that the Vikings, if they win, are playing on the 11th, so I didn't have a conflict of interest or whatever.
Grandson's playing hockey. It's going to start causing some commotion.
Yeah, of course. All right, 2019. Your big moment for 2019. We started the show with it. Let's end the show with it. What's the biggest thing that sticks out in your mind?
I think I had 2 of them. Number 1 was live broadcasting the football games. Bronco Live. That's an old Bronco.
TV.
That was KCC TV. And for us to do that 5 games, that was an amazing thing. And to celebrate that end, going to the Big Ten Championship in Indianapolis,
absolutely.
There was nothing the matter with that either with my good friend Dale Johnson. And what a way to celebrate a sport you love,
I put down 3 things probably that will stick out in my mind for 2019, and KCC TV being one of those things with the live sports and everything else. Everybody knows how much I love that, but my number one thing probably is going to be the Bronco football season, coming back and re-emerging, making some noise. The program had been in some tough spots, and Jay Saline and others made it a fun season. They ended up 5-4 on the season. Some people might say, what's that? Well, considering that they were above 500, was a heck of it. So if I were to make a number one story for the year, for me personally, that would probably be number one. KCC sits number 3, and I would say the Minnesota Twins baseball season has to go in there at number 2. It ended way too soon in the playoffs.
That Penn State game was awful too.
Yeah, the Penn State game would probably have to be number 4 with the Gophers and being there when they did what they did. Obviously, we have a chance to be involved with sports, so there's so many things that can happen that are memorable. But those are the biggies. Those are the ones that'll stick out in my mind. There were other reasons why 2019 will be special, but sports-wise, those were the biggies. The Gopher season, like I said, could have been higher up on the thing if they could have been playing in Indy when you were there. That'd have been incredibly something else. And
I still got a new sweatshirt for it, so it's no.
My daughter bought me a Gopher T-shirt from the Outback Bowl, and my wife bought me a pair of Zubas that I thought about wearing today, but I figured with this crowd here at the Muni, he might send me right back out the door if I wore my Zubas on a non-game day. Now, if I come out here on Wednesday with my Zubas on, everybody will be like, "Hey, there's a fan." That'll be the difference.
That'll be the difference.
Well, my friend, it was a heck of a 2019.
Hey, it really was. Hey, and by the way, thank you for inviting me to photograph that video of that hockey game.
You might get a few more phone calls. We'll see how things go along the way.
There's nothing the matter with that.
Happy New Year to everybody out there. Thanks so much for watching and making this something that we enjoy doing.
This program brought to you by Brewski's Bar and Grill, located in Utica, Minnesota. Your one-stop shop for delicious burgers, fries, pizzas, and more.